My boyfriend faked his own death just to see if I'd cheat. My boyfriend faked his own death just to see if I would cheat on him. That sounds like a clickbait title on some trashy YouTube video, but I'm the idiot who lived it. I buried an empty coffin, cried over a man who was very much alive, and then caught him cheating while he was supposed to be dead. This is the story. I met Liam at a mutual friend's birthday party. He was the loud one, the guy in the center of the room telling wild stories with a beer in his hand and a smirk that said he'd gotten away with a lot in life. At one point, the conversation turned to cheating, and Liam jumped in like he'd been waiting for that topic all night. If my girlfriend ever cheated on me, he said, I wouldn't argue. I'd just disappear, fake my own death, or something and watch what she does. You see the truth when people think you're gone. Everyone laughed. I did too. It sounded like a twisted joke, the kind you roll your eyes at and forget. Later that night, he found me in the kitchen, refilling my drink. Hey, he said, dropping his voice. You laughed at my messed up joke. That means you get my real personality. We talked for hours by the sink. He told me about his childhood, about a father who cheated on his mom openly, about hearing fights through thin walls and watching his mother shrink into herself. I promised myself I'd never be like him, Liam said. So I need loyalty. Real loyalty. I'd rather know the worst than be lied to. It sounded deep, broken, but honest. I liked that he seemed vulnerable and self-aware. He walked me home, asked for my number, and texted me as soon as he got back. If I ever fake my death, I promise you'll be the first to know, faced with tears of joy. I sent a laughing emoji back. If only I'd realized that wasn't a joke. It happened on a Wednesday. I was at work, staring at my computer screen, trying to make myself care about emails, when my phone rang with an unknown number. Hello! I answered, half distracted. Is this Emma Collins? A man asked. His voice was low, official. Yes. This is Officer Kevin Parks with Highway Patrol. Are you the partner of Liam Hughes? My heart started pounding. Yes, why? Is he okay? There's been an accident, he said. We need you to come to St. Michael's Hospital as soon as possible. I don't remember the drive. I know I ran several red lights because I later found the tickets in the mail. I just remember my hands shaking on the steering wheel and the sound of my own breathing, loud and ragged. At the hospital, a man in a police uniform and a doctor in green scrubs met me and led me to a tiny room with no windows. There was a box of tissues on the table and a big, fake watercolor painting of flowers on the wall. I already knew. The doctor started talking in that soft, practiced tone I've only ever heard on TV. There was a collision with a truck on the highway. We did everything we could. I'm so sorry. He passed away on the way here. I remember saying, over and over, no, there must be a mistake. No, he texted me this morning. No, I would feel it. I begged to see him. The doctor and the officer exchanged a look. His body is in very bad condition, the doctor said. Sometimes it's kinder to remember them as they were. We can arrange a closed casket service. The officer, Kevin, put a hand on my shoulder. We've seen this a lot, he said. Closed casket is often better for the family. I was in shock. I nodded at whatever they suggested. I signed papers without reading them. I called his parents and listened to his mother scream down the line. That night, alone in our apartment, his toothbrush was still next to mine. His shoes were still by the door. His jacket still hung on the back of the chair. He was everywhere. Except he wasn't. The funeral was 3 days later. It was closed casket, just like the doctor advised. The coffin was sealed when it arrived. There was a big framed photo of Liam on top, the one from our trip to the lake, where he was laughing and squinting into the sun. His mom threw herself over the lid and screamed his name. His dad stood stiff and silent, gripping the back of a chair until his knuckles were white. Everyone kept coming up to me, saying they couldn't imagine what I was going through, that Liam loved you so much, that he always talked about how loyal you were. I stared at that coffin and felt disconnected. I couldn't cry properly. It felt like acting in someone else's tragedy. When the priest talked about Liam's body lying here before us, my brain kept saying, "You haven't seen it. You don't know. They just told you." I told myself I was in denial. That's what grief does, right? I accepted the folded flag, the flowers, the sad eyes, the casseroles. And then I went back to our empty apartment and sat on our bed with his hoodie pressed to my face, shaking so hard my teeth clacked together. That's when my phone buzzed. It was a text from his best friend, Mark. "Mark, hey, I'm outside. Can I come up? Just want to make sure you ate." I let him in. He hugged me, so tightly I could barely breathe, and I finally broke down. For a while it felt like he was the only thing keeping me upright. I didn't realize then how tangled he was in all of this. A week after the funeral, I logged into our joint bank account to make sure the rent would still be covered. That's when I saw it. A cash withdrawal. Date: the day after Liam's accident. Time: 6:14 a.m. Location: an ATM in a coastal town called West Cove, 3 hours away. I stared at the screen. Maybe it was pending, and the timestamp was weird. Maybe the bank processed something late. Maybe I was just seeing what I wanted to see. Then, 3 days later, I checked again. Another withdrawal. Same ATM, same card, same PIN. Dead men don't use ATMs. I called the bank in a panic and explained that my boyfriend had died and surely someone must be using his card illegally. The woman on the phone checked the account and said calmly, "The card was used with the correct PIN. If you'd like, we can block the card to prevent further withdrawals." I authorized the block. My voice shook so badly she asked if I had someone with me. I hung up and tried to breathe. Maybe it was someone who knew his PIN. A friend. A family member. Someone helping with expenses. My brain bent itself into knots trying to find a reasonable explanation. That same night, I opened Netflix to put something on in the background while I tried to sleep. On the TV, our profiles popped up. Under Liam, it said, "Continue watching Breaking Bad, Season 3, Episode 5, watched 12 minutes ago." 12 minutes. Nobody else had the password. It wasn't me. I turned the TV off and sat in the dark. For the first time, I wondered if I was actually losing my mind, or if Liam wasn't as dead as everyone kept telling me. Mark started coming by more often. He'd bring food, clean up a little, sit with me while I stared at the wall. Sometimes he'd make me laugh with old stories about Liam. Sometimes he'd just sit there in silence while I cried. One evening, while we were boxing up some of Liam's things, I told him about the ATM withdrawals and the Netflix activity. He frowned. "Emma, I'm not saying you're wrong, but grief does weird things. Your brain grabs onto any sign that the person is still here. Apps glitch. Banks lag. It could be anything." I snapped a little. Anything except the obvious, right? That he might not actually be dead? He looked uncomfortable. Look, I loved him too. If there was any chance he was alive, I'd want to believe it. But there was a cop, a doctor, his whole family. Sometimes denial just hangs on for a while. He sounded reasonable, logical. So why did his eyes keep darting away from mine? That night, after he left, I was lying on the couch and got this weird feeling people talk about, like someone's watching you. I looked around the room. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. A few days later, I decided to take down a framed photo of Liam from the living room wall. I couldn't stand seeing him smiling at me from every corner. When I pulled the frame off, the wall panel behind it shifted. A small piece of the decorative panel popped out, revealing a tiny hole in a black lens. A camera. Cold spread through my chest. I stood on a chair and carefully pulled at other panels. Behind another photo, another camera. Behind a speaker, another. Hidden in the corner near the ceiling, a fourth. My hands were shaking so badly that I dropped one of the frames and shattered the glass. I grabbed Liam's old laptop from the drawer. I still knew the password. On the desktop was a folder named Home. Inside, dozens of video files, neatly labeled. Day_1_ after funeral _living room.mp4. Day_3_ Emma kitchen.mp4. Day_5_ Emma Marco couch.mp4. Day_14_ Emma bedroom breakdown.mp4. My heart pounded as I clicked on Day_14_ Emma bedroom breakdown. The screen showed my bedroom. Me, curled around his hoodie, sobbing into the pillow. Hyperventilating. Sliding off the bed onto the floor. Crawling to my nightstand for my inhaler. The camera just watched. Around the 30-minute mark, the view zoomed in a little, like someone adjusting a digital zoom on their phone. I heard a voice, slightly distorted but unmistakably his. Liam. Day 14. She still hasn't left the apartment for more than an hour. No male visitors except Mark. Physical touch with him is limited to hugs. She's loyal so far. Grief response, intense. The world tilted. He was alive, watching me cry over his death like I was a lab rat. I clicked on day_18_ Emma Markle couch. On the screen, Mark and I were watching a movie. I was leaning against his shoulder, eyes red but finally dry. Our hands were close, fingers barely touching. Again Liam's voice. Day 18. Emotional transfer beginning. She's leaning on Mark more. Still no kissing. I think we're close to the point where she might cave. I slammed the laptop shut so hard I thought I broke it. My whole relationship had turned into one of his beloved loyalty tests. I just hadn't agreed to be in it. When my hand stopped shaking, I opened the laptop again and searched the documents. There it was, a Word file named Plan. Inside, in bullet points, was his entire blueprint. Phase 1 fake death. Stage highway accident with cousin Kevin, police contact. Arrange doctor at St. Michael's for death notification. Push for closed casket funeral, severe trauma, not recommended to view. Send parents script beforehand. Phase 2 observe grief. Install hidden cameras while Emma's at work. Record 30 days of behavior. Track. Crying frequency, leaving the house, social activity, calls to male contacts. Phase 3. Introduce temptation. Use Mark as support system. Encourage physical comfort and emotional intimacy. Measure time until first kiss/date-like outing. Optional. Anonymous DMs from fake male profile to see if she replies. Phase 4. Reveal and record. Return after enough footage collected. Reveal experiment. Film confrontation. Possible YouTube series. Would they stay loyal if you died? At the bottom he'd written, "No one's ever done this. Viral potential, insane." I read it 3 times, my vision blurring. My boyfriend hadn't just faked his death. He'd turned my grief into a content strategy. When Mark came by that evening, I didn't let him sit down. I opened the laptop and hit play on one of the videos where Liam was talking over us as we sat together on the couch. Mark went white. "Explain," I said. He watched the whole clip, then sank onto the armchair like his legs gave out. I thought you knew," he whispered. "Knew what?" "That it was an experiment. He told me you guys had broken up, that you were both in on this fake death thing. He said you wanted to test how your friends and family reacted. I thought you were just acting." My voice came out colder than I'd ever heard it. "So when he asked you to come over here, comfort me, get close to me, he called it pushing the scenario," Mark said miserably. "I swear, Emma, I never would have helped if I'd known you thought he was actually dead. I never signed up to torture you." "Where is he?" I asked. Mark hesitated. "I don't know exactly. He said he was staying in some small coastal town while things played out," cutting a highlight reel. I opened my banking app and pulled up the ATM details. "West Cove," I said. "Does that ring a bell?" Mark closed his eyes. "That's where his uncle owns a vacation house." I grabbed my keys. "Good," I said. "You're driving." It was a 3-hour drive, but it felt like 10. The whole way there, my brain ping-ponged between rage and disbelief. One minute I was planning exactly what I would scream at him, the next I was imagining some insane twist where this was all a misunderstanding. By the time we reached West Cove, it was night. The town looked like every postcard beach town ever. String lights, tiki bars, neon signs, tourists in sandals. Mark parked near the small boardwalk. "He said he liked a bar called the Driftwood," Mark muttered. "If he's out, he'll be there." We walked down the street. My heart was punching my ribcage. And then I saw him. Liam. Alive. Very much not grieving. He was sitting on the open patio of the Driftwood, wearing a stupid floral shirt and laughing with a woman in a short dress. Her hand was on his arm. His phone was on the table, screen lit up with the Netflix app. For a second I thought I'd faint. The world narrowed to the sound of their laughter. Mark stopped a few steps behind me. "Emma," he said quietly. "We don't have to." "Yes," I cut him off. "We do." I pulled out my phone, hit record, and walked straight onto the patio. "Hey, Liam," I said, loud enough for the surrounding tables to hear. "How's the afterlife treating you?" He turned. I'll never forget the look on his face, the instant, naked panic before he tried to rearrange it into confusion. "Emma," he stammered. "What? How?" The girl next to him blinked. "You told me your girlfriend died in a car crash," she said slowly. I smiled, sharp and bright. "Oh, she did?" I said. "At least that's what the cop and the doctor and the closed casket and the funeral all told me. But apparently my zombie boyfriend is busy drinking mojitos and watching Netflix." People at nearby tables had gone quiet. A bartender stopped mid-pour. Liam shot to his feet. "Let's talk somewhere else," he hissed. "Not here." "No," I said. "Right here is perfect. Since you like watching people when they don't know they're being watched." I held up my phone so he could see the recording. His face went from pale to furious. He dragged a hand through his hair, forcing a smile for the people listening. "Okay," he said. "Everyone needs to relax. Emma, you're making a scene." "You faked your own death," I said. "I think a scene is appropriate." The girl beside him, her name turned out to be Talia, stood up too. "Is this real?" she asked. "You're actually alive to her?" "Yes," I said. 3 weeks ago a doctor told me he died on the highway. I had a funeral. I buried an empty box. Meanwhile he was here, getting cash out of an ATM and watching our Netflix account. A couple at the next table gasped. Someone took out their phone. The bartender started pretending to wipe a perfectly clean counter to get closer. Liam's mask slipped. "Fine," he snapped. "Yes. I staged it. It was a loyalty test. I needed to know if you would move on. You know what my childhood was like. You know I can't trust anyone. I had to see what you'd do without me." "You put cameras in our apartment," I said. "You recorded me having panic attacks. You made Mark push me when I was at my lowest. That's not a test. That's abuse." Mark spoke up, voice shaking. "She didn't know, man. You told me she was in on it. You lied to both of us." Liam glared at him. "You were supposed to comfort her, not confess to her," he spat. "I told you not to say anything until Phase 4. "Phase 4? I repeated. "What is this, a Marvel movie?" He turned back to me, trying to soften his face. "Emma, listen. You didn't cheat. You passed. That's the point. You passed with flying colors. I've been watching the footage. I know you have. I cut in. I found your files. Day 14, Emma crying. Day 18, Emma and Mark. Your commentary. She might cave soon. Talia looked sick. You filmed her at home?" she asked. "After telling her you were dead?" Liam rolled his eyes. "It's not like that. It's a social experiment. People do this all the time online. And you," he said, pointing at me, "are the only one I've ever trusted enough to test like this. Don't turn this into some victim thing." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "You trust me so much," I said, "that instead of talking to me, you staged an accident, involved your family, had a fake cop, a fake doctor, secret cameras, and a beach house. Because if I just asked, you could lie," he shot back. "This way I saw the truth. You stayed loyal. You should be happy." Talia stepped away from him like he was contagious. "Happy," she said. "Dude, you faked your death. Do you hear yourself?" It hit me then. He genuinely didn't get it. To him, this wasn't monstrous. It was content. I took a breath and forced my voice to calm. "Okay," I said. "So this was a test for me. Cool. Then you won't mind if there's a test for you." "What are you talking about?" he asked. "I found your cameras," I said. "Your plan document. Your experiment notes. I screenshotted all of it. And right now, I'm recording you admitting everything." I tilted the phone so the red recording dot was visible. "Phase 4, I said. "Reveal and record, right? That's the part you hadn't scripted yet. So let me help. We'll let the internet decide what kind of man fakes his death and watches his girlfriend cry on hidden cameras." The color drained from his face. "You wouldn't," he said. "You turned my grief into a show," I replied. "Why shouldn't I return the favor?" Behind me, I heard someone at another table whisper, "Is this like real? Or are they filming something?" I turned to them. "It's real," I said. "Unfortunately." Liam reached for my phone. I stepped back. "Touch me," I said quietly, "and I'll scream that a stranger is attacking me. You're supposed to be dead, remember? You have no name here." Talia looked at him like he was something she'd stepped in. I'm leaving, she said to him. Then to me, if you post it, send me the link. People should know. She walked away. Mark moved to stand beside me. For years he'd been loyal to Liam. Now he stood on my side. Emma, Liam said, his voice dropping into something that used to melt me. Please, if you post that, you'll destroy my whole life. My career. Everything I've built. I met his eyes. You destroyed my entire reality, I said. You made me mourn you for views you don't even have yet. For a moment we just stared at each other, waves crashing somewhere in the darkness behind us. Then I turned around and walked away, with Mark beside me and my phone still recording. Back in the car, my hands were still shaking, but my brain was crystal clear. Are you really going to post it? Mark asked quietly. Yes, I said, but not the way he would. Instead of just dropping the raw confrontation on TikTok, I opened Reddit. I wrote a long post for our / true off my chest. My boyfriend faked his death to test my loyalty, watched me grieve on hidden cameras for 3 weeks, and I just caught him alive at a beach bar with another woman. I laid everything out. The fake accident and the fake cop, the closed casket funeral, the bank withdrawals and Netflix activity, the hidden cameras and labeled files, the written plan for his experiment and potential show, the confrontation at the bar and his confession. I blurred faces in the screenshots, but left his voice clear in the audio clip. Then I hit post. Within hours, the notifications exploded. Thousands of comments. People calling him a psychopath, a narcissist, an abuser. People sharing their own stories of relationship tests that went too far. Someone recognized his voice and his tattoos from a few old videos. They found a small YouTube channel where he uploaded social experiments. Within a day, the comments on his latest videos were full of, "Is this the dead guy who faked his death for a loyalty test? Imagine torturing your girlfriend for content. Bro, you're not a genius, you're just cruel." He tried to make a response video calling my story fake and edited. But other people dug up records of his cousin working in highway patrol, screenshots from his own laptop visible in old vlogs, little details he'd never thought anyone would notice. The internet did what the internet does best. It connected the dots. His subscriber count started dropping. Brand deals he bragged about in the past disappeared. His own mother called me, sobbing, to apologize. "I thought it was a documentary thing," she said. "I didn't know he made you believe he was gone. I'm so sorry." For the first time since that terrible phone call, I felt something like control. You might expect the story to end with me finding myself, healing, whatever. The truth is messier. I started therapy. I moved out of that apartment because every shadow looked like a camera lens. For weeks, every buzzing phone made me jump. Mark and I stayed friends for a while, but eventually we drifted apart. There was too much of Liam between us, too many memories of that experiment. Liam tried to reach out once. He emailed from a new account. "You won. Are you happy? You destroyed my career." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "No, you destroyed yourself. I just took off the mask." Then I blocked him everywhere. People always ask victims of cheating the same questions. How didn't you see the red flags? Why didn't you leave sooner? Why did you go back? The truth is, red flags are easy to see in stories and hard to see in real life when you're in love. Looking back, everything was a warning. The jokes about faking his death, the obsession with loyalty tests and catching cheaters, the need to watch rather than trust. He didn't just cheat with another woman. He cheated with an entire alternate reality he built behind my back. He turned me into a character in a show he was pitching to himself. So if you're watching this and laughing because it's insane, good. But if any part of you recognizes your partner in this story, maybe ask yourself why. Love is not a loyalty test. Grief is not content. And if someone ever jokes about faking their death to see what you do, believe them the first time. Because I didn't. And I ended up at my boyfriend's fake funeral, crying over a man who was never in the coffin.